Imagine you could wave a magic wand and conjure up your perfect customer out of thin air. How valuable would that be for your business? Well, today I'm going to talk about how YouTube can be that magic wand for your business if you do things right. And why most tradespeople never start a YouTube channel, despite the fact of how powerful it can be. So I want to ask you a question. Have you ever thought about starting a YouTube channel? This is a rhetorical question, by the way. Have you ever thought about starting a YouTube channel? And probably if you're a fan of YouTube and you watch a lot of YouTube, the thought has crossed your mind at some point in time. But you might have been held back because maybe you're camera shy. That's probably one of the number one fears that people have about starting a YouTube channel. I'm scared of being on camera. You know, I've got a face for radio. I don't know how to speak in front of people. I'll freeze up. I won't know what to say. All of these things are completely natural and normal fears that people have about starting a YouTube channel. So we'll talk about those fears and how to overcome them in this webinar. The other thing that puts people off from starting a YouTube channel is just time. I don't have the time, or I don't have the resources. I don't know how to edit. I don't have the time to, you know, edit my own videos or film all of my jobs or whatever it might be. So time is definitely something that puts people off from starting a YouTube channel. And then the other one is fear of criticism. You know, fear of the keyboard warriors and what people are going to say if you put your work out there and air all of your work for the whole world to critique. And again, that's a natural fear that could easily put you off from starting a YouTube channel. So I'm going to talk about what the benefits are of starting a YouTube channel in this video. I'm going to tell you my story and the impact that it's had on my business, for those of you who don't know. And then we're going to go through these fears and, you know, how to overcome them. And we're going to talk about some simple tips and tricks if you want to start your own YouTube channel and leverage the power of YouTube to grow your trades business. So let's start by talking about my story for a moment. If you don't know, my name's Jordan. My company is Artisan Electrics, and I've always been a massive fan of YouTube. So even before I started my own YouTube channel, I used to watch a ton of YouTube. I've always enjoyed kind of filming little clips on my holidays and things like that, but I'm certainly not a professional camera person, not a professional editor. But one day I decided to start filming some of my work and posting it on YouTube. And like, when I say that with a massive pinch of salt, because it was literally, my first video was me filming a light that was full of water, and I took the cover off and all the water came out, and it was like a 5-10 second clip of that. And I just thought, wow, it's quite shocking and interesting. I'm going to film it and then stick it on YouTube. I didn't really know why. I just thought, oh, it's quite funny and, you know, interesting, this light filled with water. I just want to share it. And that was where it really came from, the first impulse for me to just put videos on YouTube. It was just to share some of the things that I came across in my day-to-day work. One funny story is that after a few months of starting my business, I found myself getting frustrated because customers would call me up and they'd say, oh, my immersion heater is not working. And if you're an electrician, you'll know this quite well, that immersion heaters often have a little thermal cutout in them. And it's just basically a button that you press and it resets and then it will work. And in winter, when people started to turn their immersion heaters on, I'd always get these calls saying my immersion heater's not working. And I'd come out and I'd literally press the reset button and then it would work. So I thought, you know what, rather than me getting called out to these silly little jobs, which people may or may not be willing to pay your call out fee for because it's so simple, let me just make a video showing people how to do it themselves. Or at least then what I can do is I can make this video and then I can send it to people and they can try that. And if it still doesn't work, then I can come out and at least feel like justified in charging them to fix a proper fault rather than just pressing a button. So that's what I did. And that video bizarrely went kind of semi-viral. I think now it's had nearly 1 million views, but at the time it was getting hundreds of thousands of views. And it was my first experience of having a YouTube video kind of get a lot of traction and a lot of feedback. So I had lots of customers saying, oh my goodness, thank you so much. You've saved me so much time, or, oh, it worked. Thanks. You've solved my problem. And it was quite a good feeling to just be able to create one piece of content which solved a problem for people, answered a question for people, and built trust in my business ultimately. Because what I realized is by sharing a little bit of free value, rather than just going out and charging them 150 quid to press a button, I was basically saying, look, I'm here to help. Like, I've got a lot of experience. I'm going to share that experience with you for free. Hopefully it'll help you. And then when you need something again, I'm here to help with your electrical work. And that's how it all started. I quickly realized that creating YouTube videos is a way to build trust with an audience. And primarily for me, the audience that I was trying to reach was potential customers, because how do you grow a business? You need to reach people. You need to get people to become aware of your business, to know that you exist, first of all. And then second of all, you need to get them to trust you, right? Because people are not going to buy from you unless they trust you. So how do you do that? Well, there's loads of ways to do that. Obviously, you can create a website, you can do Google ads, you can, spend a fortune on putting your glossy advert in a magazine and do all of these things that may or may not build trust with an audience. They'll certainly get people aware of you. But creating videos and showing your work is, in my opinion, the most powerful way to build trust in an audience, because you cannot fake a video of you doing work and showing what you do, right? I mean, yeah, you can cut out the bits that might not look so good, but ultimately, like, it's very difficult to kind of fake you just doing good work and showing it on camera. And so that creates a huge level of trust that is very difficult for anyone else to replicate unless they're doing the same. So for me, it all started with just a simple thing of sharing a few videos of my work, and it started to build from there. And we're talking about 7-8 years ago now when I started, and at first my videos didn't get a lot of views and they were rubbish quality, but you know what, I just kept going, and eventually I started to build that traction, and it's brought me to the point where today my YouTube channel has nearly 300,000 subscribers. We get 1.5 million views per month. We've got probably £10 million worth of leads come to our business in the last year from YouTube. And I can literally now, in an illustrative way, I can literally now wave a magic wand and conjure up the perfect customers for my business. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is I can post a video about the type of work that I want more of, and in the next week, I'll have inquiries from that kind of customer. So to give you a great example, we've recently decided that we want to get more customers for big solar projects, ground mount solar projects, because we've realized that there's too much competition in these small solar jobs. Where we can really shine is in the big stuff, the big bespoke high-end projects for customers who just want a great job. They've got plenty of land, or they've got a big house with a big roof. We want to focus on those. So what did we do? We've done a few of those projects, and we go all in and we showcase them on the channel. And we did one video about a ground mount system, big 128 panel ground mount system. And literally in the next few weeks, we get 10, 15, 20 inquiries for very similar systems, because YouTube is amazing at knowing who people are and what they want, right? That is YouTube's job at the end of the day, is to serve people content that will help them. So anyone who's looking to get a ground mount system installed and has a big property, guess what? YouTube's going to throw them videos that will hopefully answer their questions and help them to find the answer to their problem or their question. So all we need to do is create a video that answers the questions or solves the problems of that type of person, and YouTube will serve our videos to our ideal customer. And that's exactly what happens. So, you know, we're in this amazing position now where we can literally create content of the kind of work that we want, and we get more of that work. Now, I'm not saying that this is something that is possible to do overnight. Like I said, this has taken years of work. But in those years, I've learned the recipes and the secrets to actually fast tracking success on YouTube. Now, it still takes a ton of work and it does take time. But I think if I started a brand new YouTube channel tomorrow with a brand new electrical business, you know, within a year, maybe 2 years, I could quite easily see a huge amount of traction and a ton of leads coming from YouTube just by doing certain things that I've learned to do over the last few years. And there's nothing like it, because in order to get the amount of high quality leads that we get now from YouTube, we would have to spend an absolute fortune on Google Ads. You know, and companies do. I mean, some of our competitors, in inverted commas, in the solar industry, I've spoken to them, and they're spending 10, 15, 20, 30,000 pounds a month on Google Ads. And they're still not getting the high quality leads that they really want, because it's very hard. Using keywords is very hard to target the ideal customer, really. I mean, you could say, okay, I want ground mount systems, so you could target keywords for ground mount, and you know that probably only people who've got a large amount of land are going to be searching for that. But ultimately, it's such a hard game to play. Whereas if you have the YouTube algorithm on your side and you've got a whole bank of content that just gets funneled towards those people, it's super powerful. And it's also a really, really good competitive moat, because, you know, for anyone to get to that stage, they've got to put in a ton of hard work and build a reputation on YouTube, which takes time. So I would recommend to any trades business who wants to be here for the long haul and build a brand and build a reputation, you need to start a YouTube channel. It's not even an option. Like, it's such a powerful marketing tool that so many people just take for granted. Now, you might say, yeah, but, you know, it's easy for you to say that now because you can see the results and, you know, the hard work has paid off. And yeah, you're right. You know, it has now, but for years it didn't. And I'd say the secret to YouTube and succeeding on YouTube is actually just not giving up. Because it is so much hard work and it does take a lot of time, it can be so easy to give up. And the majority of people who I see like start YouTube channels but who don't succeed, it's because they'll just make a few videos and then they'll just give up because they didn't have an instant hit after a few videos, and they just feel like, oh, it's just too much hard work, it's never going to take off, and then they give up. So consistency is one of the real key things. And you'll see that with any successful YouTube channel. You know, there might be the odd outlier where they start a channel and their first video goes viral, but that is very, very rare. For most businesses who've built a successful foundation on YouTube, it's consistency. It's posting regular videos week in, week out, sometimes for years. And those videos eventually start to gain traction. And they learn throughout that process what works well for their audience, what brings them the kind of leads that they're looking for, and then they keep doing that. So going back to some of the fears that we spoke about at the start that could put people off, how do you overcome these things? For example, fear of being on camera. I don't think it's really a natural thing for anyone to speak to a camera, right? I mean, we're used to speaking to people, and speaking one-to-one with a person, like that's normal and natural. We do that every day. We speak to our customers, we speak to our work colleagues. But suddenly when you're looking at a camera, it's easy to kind of like freeze up. So one of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years is just to try and forget that it's a camera and just pretend that it's a person, and speak to the camera as if it's the person that you're trying to reach. So if you're making videos for customers, potential customers, just pretend you're talking to a potential customer and just be yourself. You know, authenticity builds trust at the end of the day. You don't have to put on a face or pretend to be like an amazing actor or professional presenter or anything. Of course, be professional and polite like you would be in front of a customer, but just be yourself. People will connect with your authentic personality much more than they would with you just pretending. And that's why I see a lot of people who start YouTube channels actually using teleprompters and things like that and fully scripting their videos, and they don't get as much traction as if you're just naturally speaking to the camera as you would speak to a normal person. Even if you make mistakes and you trip up, it doesn't matter because it's real, and people connect to other people who are just being themselves and being real. It's much more relatable. So that kind of takes the pressure off, right? You don't need to be perfect. You just be yourself. Why do your customers now connect with you? Why do they keep inviting you back? Because there's something about you that they like and they trust, right? So if you could scale that up to, 100 times the amount, which, the power of YouTube is that you can make one video and reach hundreds of thousands, even millions of people, or even just a few hundred people in your area. That's super powerful. The other objection that a lot of people have is they just don't have the time or the resources. And it's true that it does take a lot of hard work to make a YouTube channel and to make videos. Like, I'm not going to deny that. But if you've got to ask yourself, what will be the result if I don't do this? What am I missing out on, or what am I leaving on the table if I don't take YouTube seriously for my business? It's like anything with business. You've got to prioritize the things that can have the biggest output at the end of the day. And if you've not got much time, then it's all about working smarter rather than harder. So, for example, a really simple way to start is just film time lapses of the work that you're doing. That's not going to take you any more time other than setting up your phone on a little tripod, pressing record, and then you just do your work as normal. It might take you 5 minutes to set up the camera, but you've captured footage of your job, which you can then use later on to create a YouTube video or some other kind of content for social media. And that's all I did with my first videos. That first viral video that I did about the immersion heater thermal cutout, it literally took me like 10 seconds. I was just in front of the cutout. I just filmed it on my phone. I wasn't even in the video. I was just talking. I filmed this little 10, 20-second video or whatever on my phone, showed how to do it, talked through it, and that was it. And I just posted it. I didn't even edit it. It was literally, I filmed it and I posted it, and it's had nearly 1 million views. So actually, content is king when it comes to YouTube. And what do we mean by that? Well, it doesn't have to be all slick camera work and fancy editing. You'll see that on our channel now, but that's after 8 years of experience and learning and having a team in place, and we can afford to do that now. But ultimately, if our content was rubbish, it doesn't matter how slick the camera work is or the editing. If it's not valuable content, nobody's going to watch it. So it's much better to put out valuable content that's actually answering a question, teaching somebody something, even if it's on a rubbish phone with shaky hands and the audio is not great, than it is to spend a fortune on fancy camera gear and film something that just has no soul and doesn't really give any value to the audience. So first, content. Start with valuable content, something that think, would I watch this if I put it on YouTube? What does somebody learn by watching this video? Do they go away feeling like their life has been improved by watching my video because they've learned something, or they've been entertained and it's made them feel good, or both? We've always tried to take the line of like edutainment. So it needs to be educating, but it also needs to be entertaining, because that is the sweet spot where YouTube shines. You see a lot of, you know, TV shows or whatever, like documentaries that are very educational, but they're kind of just boring and not very fun. Or you see shows where it's just pure entertainment and you go away and you feel like you've wasted an hour of your life because you've been entertained, but you've not really learned anything. The amazing thing and what I've always loved about YouTube is that it's kind of guilt-free, because you can watch it and you feel like you're learning stuff, but it's also entertaining. And that is just such a magical thing about the platform of YouTube. So if you can create videos that do both, then that's fantastic. Now, if you can't, then just make them educational, because at the end of the day, if you've got a trades business and you want to attract customers, you're not going to need to be like Mr. Beast or something and create entertainment videos. You're not going to get the right audience watching those videos. So you want to make educational videos. But if you can make educational videos that are also kind of fun to watch and a little bit of humor in there or whatever, that's awesome. You know, that's the perfect place to be at. Now, the other thing that puts people off from starting a YouTube channel is just fear of negative feedback. And believe me, I have had my fair share of negative feedback over the years. And there have been moments where I felt like giving up because it was so brutal that I just thought, oh, I can't be doing with this anymore. You know, it does get to you. I don't always show it, but sometimes it gets to me. But the thing is, that's just a fact of life. If you're putting yourself out there on the internet, you're going to get negative feedback. And there's two types of negative feedback. There's constructive criticism, so it's negative but you're actually learning something from it. Or there's just keyboard warriors and hate, right? Now, the keyboard warriors and hate, you've just got to remember that, you know, there's going to be 1% of people who are miserable and always leave negative, hateful comments on whatever they watch, because somehow it makes them feel better about themselves, and they're just sad people, and you've just got to let them get on with life. Constructive criticism, however, is actually really valuable. And I've made mistakes in the past in my videos, not realizing, and then I've been picked up by them in the comments and I've learned something from them. And sometimes that's cost me money, because I've had to go back and fix the mistake that I didn't realize I'd made before. Classic example is, you know, somebody from our team, we were working on this job where we chased out a wall to run some cables. And, you know, at Artisan, we're very proud of always trying to run our cables in the most discreet way and hide them. But he chased out this wall and he'd cut through the vapor barrier in the wall, which meant that basically he'd compromised the sort of structural integrity of the house, and, you know, it could let damp in future and stuff. It was like a new build timber framed house, and we were just not used to working in those kind of houses. Somebody picked us up in the comments. In fact, a lot of people did, obviously people who are used to working in those types of houses. And so we had to go back and fix it, and it cost me quite a lot. But you know what? We'll never make that mistake again. And by going back and fixing it, and showing that we'd fixed it, we actually built even more trust with our audience, because we showed that, yeah, okay, we're not perfect. Let's face it, nobody is, right? But actually, when we do make mistakes, we own up to them and we fix them, and we pride ourselves in that level of customer service where even if we do make mistakes, which does happen every so often, we go above and beyond to try and fix our mistakes. So although I have been called out and had negative feedback and stuff on videos in the past, it's actually because of the way that I've reacted to it, it's only actually built trust in my brand rather than created kind of any negative feedback for the brand. And that is something that you're going to have to get used to if you do put yourself out there. But at the end of the day, if you just remember that keyboard warriors are just idiots and you should just ignore them, and constructive feedback is actually very valuable and you can learn from it, then it helps you to kind of put everything into perspective and go, you know what, it's fine. Like, it's all part of the process. And at the end of the day, that is one of the prices that you do pay for putting out content, but there are so many benefits that massively outweigh those few negatives. Now, when I started my YouTube channel, funnily enough, a lot of the videos started to get watched by other electricians first before I started to reach actual customers. it was mostly electricians who were watching my videos, either trainees or people who are already electricians and they're just curious about how other people do their work. And I've learned over time what videos reach customers and what videos reach electricians. And the amazing thing about YouTube is that even if you've got one channel, the algorithm is so good that it will figure out which audience to send the videos to. So now we can make a video that's mainly directed at electricians, like we did one recently about how much to charge as an electrician. We know that that's going to get pushed out to the electricians in our audience. But then we'll also make a video about what you need to know before you get an electric vehicle charging point installed or something like that. And obviously that's mostly going to get served out to customers. And we're able to do both. And the YouTube algorithm just pushes our videos out to the right part of our audience according to what the video is about. So it's super powerful. And, you know, I get such a kick out of reading the emails now from the customers, because every single day we get emails saying something along the lines of, I've been watching your videos. Wow, I've learned so much. I really trust you guys. Do you cover my area? I'd love for you to be able to do the job. And suddenly we've got a queue of customers who already know, like, and trust us. All they want to know is, can we cover their area? You know, of course they want to know how much is it going to cost. But again, because the way we present ourselves, they have usually a realistic expectation that we're not going to be the cheapest, and that, you know, they will pay a premium because they're going to get 5-star service from us. So price is also less of an issue with the type of customers that you get from YouTube, because they're the people who value quality and attention to detail over just getting the cheapest price. So it's a way to get the best quality leads, not just tons of leads, but actually really good quality leads for people, the type of people that you want to work for. You know, the people who value top quality service, the people who do research. Because let's face it, if you're searching on YouTube for, you know, whatever service you're looking to get, that shows you're the kind of person who, you know, cares about who you invite into your home. You care about getting the right product and the right service. And people who do research tend to be quite nice customers often, because they're kind of interesting and they're interested in the subject or the service that you offer. Now, it can mean that you end up having quite long conversations with people, because they can also be a little bit nerdy and like they want to go down the rabbit hole and discuss all of the details. But that's okay. You know, it's good to have customers who really care and want to understand what you're going to do before you get stuck in and start the job. And I've had some great conversations with customers over the years, and actually built up really great relationships with customers who've found us on YouTube. They've brought us in to do work for them, and then they keep coming back regularly because they know that they'll always get a good job from us. So YouTube is such a powerful tool for any trades business. In fact, we could even broaden it and say not just trades businesses, but any service-based business. If you've got a service-based business where you have an amount of knowledge and expertise that you could share with people, and you could show what you do and how you do it on video, then you have a great business for YouTube. And if there's any kind of like negative element to your niche that you're in, like maybe there are cowboys in your niche and people, you know, are worried about not getting a good service, or, you know, getting scammed or whatever it is. If there's an element of like that in your industry, that also helps, because you can show the contrast and like what a good job actually looks like, and you can educate the customers on what to look for in the perfect X, Y, and Z job, whether you're an electrician, a carpenter, a plumber, a hairdresser, a tattoo artist, you know, whatever it is. You've got a ton of knowledge and experience that you can share with people. And remember that although you take it for granted because you've known it for years and you've learned it over time, customers won't, you know, that. And if you just share that knowledge with them, they will be blown away, because you're teaching them all the stuff that you know of why they should do this, that, and the other in this particular way, because it's going to save them from having this problem in the future. And all of that stuff goes into your offering. And if you can just teach that on camera, then that is super powerful and an amazing way to build trust. And also just showing visually the quality of your work enables people to project themselves into the position of having you working for them and achieving the finished result that they want to achieve. So you show a beautiful solar install that's just been finished on somebody's house, they can project themselves into that position and go, oh, if I get them to do my work, I can end up with a result like this, which is what I want. Whereas for anyone else that they're reaching out to who doesn't have that kind of social proof, there's always going to be that doubt in their mind as to whether they're going to get the result that they're really looking for. So how would I summarize? You need to start a YouTube channel. Do not delay. The sooner that you start, the sooner you'll start to build traction. Is it going to be hard work? Yes, it's a ton of work, but just start small. Share your work, in small, simple ways. Start to build up a bank of content on YouTube. Remember that YouTube is owned by Google as well, and Google is the biggest search engine in the world. YouTube is the second biggest search engine in the world. They feed into each other. So if you want to rank better for your website as well in organic search, having YouTube content will help. You build authority with Google when you have a YouTube channel. Share your work, share your knowledge. Don't be scared of being on camera. Just be your authentic self. Try and work smarter and just, get started with simple little clips and sharing simple tips and tricks that you've learned over time. It doesn't have to be perfect, slick content with amazing editing to start with. Just start and share some of your content and work online. And don't worry about keyboard warriors. They will be out there, but ultimately, if you're getting any kind of comments, it shows that you're getting traction. And ultimately, any constructive criticism is something that you'll learn from and be able to improve your business. And if you want any help with YouTube, obviously, we're here to help. I've created a YouTube for Trades masterclass. We're currently running our first cohort, and we're just over halfway through the cohort. Andrew here is a member, and I think it's been helpful and enjoyable to him, but maybe he can talk about that in the Q&A at the end. But ultimately, it's been great because we've seen people take their first steps with YouTube, and me and my team have been able to share some of our knowledge and experience with this cohort, and we're looking to scale that up even more on the next cohort and create an entire kind of course around how to start and grow and succeed on YouTube. So if you're interested in joining the next cohort, or if you'd like to find out more, just send me a message and or I'll leave a link below where you can just book a call and we can just jump on a call and have a chat about it. But I would highly encourage you to try and start a YouTube channel if you want to grow your trades business. So I'll open the floor to questions.